Thank you for plugging into this Family Life News podcast, streaming issues-driven, family-focused news.
How does the church speak to the culture? How must the church speak to the culture? This is Faith Under Fire on Family Life, our weekly look at Christ and Christians and culture. Today's special feature brings you highlights from the recent Turning Point USA Pastors Summit in San Diego and similar events that have happened in the past year since their first one, just a year ago. The conversation is about how Christians, particularly pastors and other church leaders, need to speak into the culture of the day. These clips are from the Pastors Summit speakers, including Rick Brown, who gives an overview and marching orders.
So let's think about this. Is Hollywood going to save the country anytime soon? Media, tech companies. Is the federal government the only institution that's left that has any sort of organization, that has a claim for truth, that is able to call a crooked line from a straight line, that's able to call good from evil, dark from light, and right from wrong, is the church.
Michael Knowles talks about how truth is always on the side of Christ's followers who follow the Scriptures.
What I endeavored to do was take back ground that the liberals thought they conquered. The liberals thought that they had already won on the issue of transgenderism, and so they thought the debate at this point was between, do we trans the kids at age 8, or do we wait until they turn 9? Is it third grade, or do we wait until fourth grade? And I said, no, either transgenderism is true or it's false. Either a man can be a woman or a man cannot be a woman. If it is true, if a man really can become a woman, not only should we tolerate this for 25-year-olds, we probably should trans the kids, right? I mean, if they really can be born in the wrong body, then it would seem cruel to force them to go through the wrong puberty or all of the jargon that they talk about. But we know it isn't true. And so if it isn't true, then it isn't true for anybody else either. Bringing the fight to the liberals, especially on cultural issues, where the liberals think they've already won. Sometimes the best defense is a good offense, and I think we need to start retaking some ground on this issue. And by the way, if men and women really are different, and if men can't become women and vice versa, well, then we need to stand up for eternal truths about the relationship between men and women, of what marriage really means. There is no reason to give that up. We are Christian. Either our faith is true or it's not true. And if it's not true, then as St. Paul tells us, we are most to be pitied. But it is true, okay? And we can know these things revealed by our Lord, and we can know these things from the natural law, and we can know these things using our reason and our moral conscience from the created world. And if we don't have the courage to stand up for the basic nature of our humanity, then we're not going to stand up for anything. We might as well close up the churches. We might as well throw it all in and let the liberals run the country.
Pastors in many types of churches find it hard to step out on issues that can be labeled as political, but Charlie Kirk says that he has had those conversations with leading pastors who wanted to play it safe or didn't know if they should speak out, teach, or preach about the issues of the day.
And he said, and he was sweet about it. He said, Charlie, I'm really undecided after the last couple years of whether or not I should speak out on current events. I said, okay, let me get this straight. So after the last year of the lockdowns of churches, strip clubs and marijuana dispensaries and liquor stores remain open, the forced vaccinations, the masks on our kids, the most suicidal generation and alcohol-addicted and drug-addicted generation in history, our border remains completely and totally wide open. They're raiding the homes of pro-life leaders. You're still undecided after that, after a couple years? Like, what more information do you need exactly to want to speak out? And so I worded it a little bit nicer than that. And basically he said, I'm undecided of whether or not it's worth doing it. That's what he was undecided about. You're undecided about whether it's the right time to do the right thing. This is a pastor of a pretty major church. I don't know how persuasive I was, but that shouldn't even be a question if you're a pastor in America. If you're still undecided at this point.
Charlie Kirk, Michael Knowles, and Rick Brown among dozens of speakers who spoke to hundreds of evangelical pastors this week in California at the latest of the Pastors' Summits. I'm Greg Gillespie. Thanks for listening to Faith Under Fire from Family Life News.